Robin trembled, and came to the stone stele in the text of the history, with a hungry expression, as if he had seen the most precious treasure in the world. On the stone tablet, those strangely shaped characters that no one in the world can understand anymore except her are the lives of everyone in Ohara. Robin greedily read the historical text on the stele. But soon, she was disappointed, even a little lost. No, this is not what I'm looking for. From his side, a gentle male voice came. The real history is not so easy to find. Robin was taken aback, and then he came back to his senses, looking at Dover who was beside him with complicated eyes. Is he comforting himself? No, no, how could a man like him comfort people? Robin laughed at himself. For so many years, she has come here alone, so she doesn't care about comfort. Tell me, what's on it, Robin? Dover said lightly. His eyes were so deep and pitch black, falling on Robin's body, and Robin immediately felt that his whole body was seen through. Robin opened his mouth to speak, but he was worried about something, and he didn't make a sound for a long time. Recorded on the stele is the whereabouts of ancient weapon Pluton. Rumor has it that Pluton can easily destroy a country with one blow. If such a super weapon capable of shaking the world is obtained by the man beside him, what will the world be like? Robin couldn't imagine. Therefore, her first reaction was to deceive Dover and make up a content. Anyway, she is the only one in this world who can understand the text of history. But when it came to his lips, Robin couldn't say anything. Perhaps she thought she could not have fooled Dover. Or maybe, she didn't want to deceive Dover subconsciously. Although Robin had not known Dover for long, the man gave her a strange feeling. He is also both righteous and evil, both light and dark, as if he is a conglomeration of two extreme contradictions. Robin had never seen such a person before, even she herself hadn't noticed, she was involuntarily attracted to Dover. In short, Robin can't easily tell a lie to Dover, it's a bit ironic to her, a woman who has been living by deceit for 15 years. Dover still looked at Robin lightly, waiting for Robin's answer. Although he knew that Robin could not be completely loyal to him like Monet, Viola and other women at this time, but since he got on his ship, betrayal and deception were intolerable by Dover. Dover is using Pluton's clues to test Robin. If Robin deceives Dover with false information, even if Dover admires this woman very much, she will immediately be beaten into the cold palace by him and become a doll controlled by his parasite string from then on. Time passed by every minute. Suddenly, Robin sighed, but there was a touching smile on her face, and she couldn't see how contradictory she was just now. The above is the whereabouts of ancient weapon Pluton, it's right there. Robin blinked mischievously. Once she made up her mind not to deceive Dover, her heart felt relieved, and her expression became quite vivid and agile. Master Dover, Pluton is a very precious thing, Robin said mischievously. How are you going to reward me? The amorous feelings at the moment Robin blinked, even the little girl Vivi was dumbfounded, muttering in his heart, Sister Robin, are you a fairy going down? Dover was also amazed by Robin's beauty, and he was dumbfounded by Robin's sudden naughty behavior. Robin, really a unique woman in this world. A playful smile appeared on Dover's face. What reward do you want? Robin seemed to have succeeded in a scheme, and smiled. Then please Master Dover, and help the little girl find a piece of historical text. Yes. Dover nodded without thinking. He remembered that there was a piece of historical text on Sky Island, and it happened that Dover also planned to go to Sky Island later. Robin's pretty face showed a beautiful smile that eclipsed Baihua, and then she told Dover about Pluton's whereabouts without reservation. In the depths of Alabasta, there is a strange hole at a place unknown to many kilometers from the ground. It is about the size of an island, with strange plants growing on the ground, and inexplicable huge monsters surging inside. Whether it is a plant or a monster, they all present a pitch-black color, making this void look even more terrifying and crippling. Huh, that's disgusting, but in such a terrible place, a few figures walked in it calmly. They are here to find Pluton's Dover, Robin, and Vivi. Robin accidentally stepped on a black plant. She looked around and said in shock, here, it's like real hell. They came across an unknown number of black monsters as they walked along, and there were even cannibalistic and mobile plants. However, those monsters were all torn apart with a wave of the man beside him. As a result, no monster dared to attack them at this moment. If this is hell, then this man is Kun the devil facing hell. Robin couldn't help but sigh. It is naturally Dover who walks beside Robin. On the other side of Dover was Vivi, who was holding onto his big hand tightly in fear. Dover didn't have any expressions from beginning to end. Neither the black monster nor the moving piranha could give him the slightest mood swing. Until they walked to the end of the void and saw the behemoth lying in the endless darkness, even Dover couldn't help but widen his eyes. Ancient weapon Pluton, with the name, God, found it. The behemoth lying in the endless darkness, the whole body presents a black metallic luster. It stood there quietly, like a god who controls darkness, ancient and full of supreme majesty, giving people a heavy sense of oppression and shock. All three were briefly shocked by the behemoth in front of them. Robin's face was full of shock. This is one of the three ancient weapons, Pluton. Unbelievable, this kind of weapon actually exists in the world. Just looking at the size, the pirate ships and warships Robin has seen before are just like children's toys when compared with Pluton. It seems to have affected this space. Robin's observational power is extremely keen, and she has discovered an amazing fact. The reason why the plants and animals in this space are all black should be because of it. This fact is too terrifying. Pluton, unexpectedly, can affect the surrounding environment. Robin immediately issued another question. What is the driving force behind such a huge monster? She looked at Dover subconsciously. This man, Robin always thought he knew everything. Dover touched his chin, and after the moment of shock, he quickly calmed down. Pluton? A weird smile appeared at the corner of Dover's mouth.
It's better to call an aircraft carrier. That's right, the Pluton in front of you and the aircraft carrier from Dover's previous life are almost identical in appearance and size.
It was just a row of dark holes instead of the runway on the aircraft carrier for the plane to glide. Dover guessed that that should be the place where the missile was fired. A mere blast hole could not look like that. And since Pluton is so similar to the aircraft carrier of Dover's previous life, then the driving force that drives it. Dover said with a chuckle, it shouldn't be nuclear power. Nuclear power? Robin frowned. What's that? A motivation that will never dry up. Dover's gaze seemed to penetrate countless spaces and times, and he saw a certain country in the previous life, and it was because of this that he dominated the world. Motivation that will never dry up. Robin shook his whole body, only to think it was unbelievable. Is there still that kind of energy in the world? But Pluton, a super weapon that shouldn't exist in this world, is clearly in front of her eyes, and the inexhaustible energy does not seem to be surprising. Moreover, only that kind of energy can match Pluton. So, how do you drive it? Robin seemed to be a little eager to try. Driving such a super battleship, the Buster Call, which was once her childhood nightmare, was nothing at all. Dover didn't answer this time. Although he understood the structure of Pluton, he didn't know how to operate it. After all, he had no chance to operate an aircraft carrier in his previous life. Dover looked to his left and kept holding Vivi tightly on his big hand. Vivi's little hands are soft and smooth, which is unique to a little girl, but they are a bit cold at this time. Obviously, although Vivi has an extraordinary nature, he is afraid of everything that is strange and inexplicable in front of him. Dover held Vivi's small hand with his backhand and felt the warmth of his big hand. Vivi's heart suddenly became extremely warm and comfortable, and his fear immediately disappeared. Brother Dover's gentle voice came. Vivi, do you feel anything? There was a lazy hum from Vivi Xiaochang's nose. It seemed that she was still immersed in the happiness wrapped in Dover's hands. The next moment, Vivi realized that Brother Dover was talking to himself. His face blushed, and he said quickly. What? What did it sense? A hint of disappointment flashed through Dover's mind. He originally guessed that Vivi should be the key to Pluton. Otherwise, it is impossible for the Aims Lord, who is hiding in the deepest part of Mariajoy, to kill a little girl like Vivi. But looking at Vivi's reaction at this moment, is his guess wrong? Dover did not know that Vivi had just thought carefully and was not on Pluton at all. Vivi seemed to feel Dover's disappointment too, and his heart suddenly picked up. She pressed her small mouth tightly, her eyes widened, and she carefully observed Pluton not far away. Vivi didn't want Brother Dover to be disappointed with him at all. Not long after, Vivi suddenly gave a whisper, and pointed to somewhere on Pluton. Brother Dover, look, there is a minion there. Dover and Robin looked at it immediately. It was still dark. Where was anyone? There really is a little yellow guy. She still beckons to me. Seeing that Brother Dover and Sister Robin didn't seem to believe them, Vivi said anxiously. Really? Robin looked confused. That's really weird. Why didn't I see anything? Dover suddenly remembered something. His eyes flashed, and he asked, Vivi, what's the name of that little yellow man? Yeah, okay. Vivi's little head got busy. She should be communicating with the little yellow guy, but it doesn't seem to be using words, but it seems to be using consciousness. Soon, Vivi said to Dover, "Brother Dover, the little yellow guy said that she is called Mingming, and she is the ship spirit of this warship." Sure enough. Dover nodded slightly. In the original book, Straw Hat Crew's first Golden Mary, there was a ship elves, which can only be seen by special people. It seems that only Vivi can see this Pluton's ship spirit, which means that only Vivi can control Pluton in the entire world. But called Mingming, it seems to be a girl's name, but since it's a ship spirit, it doesn't matter whether it's gender. Vivi suddenly said unhappy. Mingming said that she hadn't moved for too many years, and she was a little sick recently. The little girl looked at Dover hopefully. "Brother Dover, let's heal her."
Get ill. It should mean that Pluton is damaged somewhere.
Dover asks, "How should I treat it?" Seeing that Brother Dover did not refuse, Vivi jumped up again and said, "Mingming said that she only needs to find her internal drawings, and she can treat it by herself." Pluton drawings? Dover's eyes flashed, and it seemed that he had to go to the City of Seven Waters. The City of Seven Waters is a famous shipbuilding city. Ancient weapon Pluton is made by the ancient shipsmiths in the capital of the Seven Waters. The most recent legendary boatmaker Tom in the City of Seven Waters was the one who built the Oro Jackson for Roger, the One Piece King, and he was also executed by the world government for this crime. Bingshan, one of Tom's disciples, is now the head of the Seven Waters City. However, although the City of Seven Waters looks calm, it is secretly perilous. In the darkness, there were already a pair of eyes staring at the Pluton drawing in Bingberg's hand. That is CP9, a secret espionage organization under the direct management of the world government. Not long ago, CP9 sneaked into the City of Seven Waters and quickly gained the trust of Shi Chong Bingshan. One of its members, Khalifa, even became Bingshan's secretary. At this moment, Khalifa, dressed in a silk net black dress, was holding a stack of documents and walking towards Bingshan's office. HMPH, I must be the first person to get the Pluton drawing, even Lu Chi, I am not closer to the Pluton drawing. Khalifa thought triumphantly, his usual sweet smile appeared on his face. She came to Bingberg to report to work. Knocked on the door for a while, but there was no response in the room. Is the iceberg not there? Khalifa's eyes flickered, and this was a good opportunity to search Iceberg's office. She opened the door of the office, but was surprised to find that Bingberg was sitting on the chair behind the desk. What surprised her even more was that the iceberg, who had always been calm, had cold sweat on her forehead, and her whole body was trembling slightly, as if she had seen something terrible. No, Bingberg is afraid of that person. Khalifa immediately discovered that there was a tall and stalwart figure with her back facing her in the room. Then, who is it? Just a back figure made her feel a strong haki and coercion. Such power, even Rob Lucci, the strongest CP9, is far behind. The City of Seven Waters, when did such a terrible man come? For an instant, Khalifa even had the urge to turn around and run away. But she is an elite spy of CP9, knowing that she must not act rashly at this time. Khalifa suppressed the panic in his heart, forced out a sweet smile like before, and said, "Master Shi, you have a guest here." Bingshan also saw Khalifa. He didn't intend to involve himself, the new secretary who had just taken office. But since Khalifa came in, Bingberg knew that the matter was irreversible. Even if Khalifa immediately ran away, it would be impossible to escape the clutches of the man in front of him. Bingshan sighed and said to his glamorous secretary, "Khalifa, don't talk later." Khalifa nodded. She cautiously came to the iceberg and glanced at the person across the iceberg secretly. Just a glance, a panic of ultimate, immediately rushed to Khalifa's heart. 7 warlords of the sea. More. Doflamingo. Khalifa screamed almost uncontrollably. She regrets so much at this moment. Just now, she should turn around and run away without hesitation, fleeing desperately. Because, as a secret agent of the government, Khalifa knows better than Bingberg the horror of the man before Byakugan. Hey he. The person who made the iceberg so nervous and Khalifa so scared was naturally Dover, who came to get Pluton's drawings. Dover glanced faintly at Khalifa, and let out a low smile that made the latter's heart tremble. It turned out to be you. It seems that the world government has already started drawing the idea of Pluton drawings. Khalifa's face instantly turned pale, and his body shook slightly, as if he could not stand. On the side, Bingshan's face suddenly changed. Doflamingo, what do you mean by this? Haha. Dover smiled deeply. Do you think that only I know that you have Pluton drawings? World government is interested in it earlier than me? Bingberg's heart was shaken, and he turned his head and stared at Khalifa in disbelief. Are you a member of the government? At this time, Khalifa, wherever she dared to lie in front of Dover, her face was pale and knotted. Bingberg was limp, leaning weakly on the chair, and laughed at himself. Government? Hee, it turns out that the world government has been eyeing it a long time ago. I'm really stupid. Bingshan originally thought that although he was unable to resist Doflamingo, he could use the power of the world government to prevent Dover from obtaining the Pluton drawings. However, I never expected that Dover in front was a fierce tiger, but the world government behind was a wolf who cannibalized people without spitting out bones. With tigers in front and wolves behind, the iceberg has no way to retreat. Knowing this, I should have given the Pluton drawings to junior brother Frankie sooner, Bingshan thought desperately. At this time, Khalifa suddenly reacted to one thing. She was a CP9 spy, and Dover was 7 warlords of the sea. Both of them should belong to the world government. Khalifa barely calmed down, and said with a forced smile. Lord Doflamingo, I am a member of the secret agency CP9 of the world government, and I stand on the same side as you. Dover didn't expect Khalifa to say such innocent things, and it seemed that this woman really feared him from the bottom of her heart. Dover's eyes were playful, and Khalifa's heart was frowned upon. For a long time, Dover's indifferent words, as if the gods contempt the ants, caused Khalifa to fall into a bottomless abyss in an instant. World government? That kind of disgusting thing, what right do you have to stand with me? What qualifications does the world government have to stand with me? Dover's indifferent words and lofty attitude, not only Khalifa, but even Bingberg was deeply shocked. This man did not put the world government, which has ruled the world for 800 years, into his eyes at all. To say this to another person, Khalifa and Bingberg would definitely laugh at this person's ignorance, fearlessness, and arrogance. But for Dover, they didn't feel that way at all, but took it for granted. This is the most terrible place. What kind of people can make people come into being? Even if it is compared with the world government, it is nothing short of nothing. Only the king, the supreme king, in Dover, there is such a king's posture. When Khalifa and Bingberg thought of this, they were shocked beyond words. In the face of a true king, what are they mortals? Dover didn't care about Khalifa and Bingberg's thoughts at this time. He faintly commanded. Khalifa, go call all the other CP9 members over, so I don't have to look for them one by one later. Now that I met the loyal dog of the world government, CP9, it didn't take a bit of effort to get rid of it. The most important thing is that he remembers that the death of Robin's mother and the destruction of O'Hara are inseparable from the father of CP9's current commander, Spandam, and Spandane, so he also helps the little woman who completely submits to him to solve this point. It's not even troublesome. Khalifa nodded blankly. She took out the phone worm and called the other CP9 members one by one. She looked obedient and looked like Dover's most loyal subordinate. After the call, Khalifa realized what he had just done. A wry smile suddenly appeared on the bright red lips. What happened to me? Why did the body obey the man's orders involuntarily? Khalifa didn't know that she had been overwhelmed by Dover's kingly posture, and she treated Dover as a god deep in her heart. From then on, it was impossible for a trace of defying Dover to arise. After a while, the CP9 members who received Khalifa's call came one after another. Anything urgent? Call us all, Khalifa. As soon as we met, someone complained. But the next second, everyone was stunned. They saw the iceberg in the room. Doesn't this mean that all the lurking potential of oneself and others these days have been exposed? Khalifa, you betrayed us. Kaku, who ranked second in CP9 in strength, was very furious and axed sharply. The others, except Rob Lucci, glared at Khalifa. Rob Lucci has been staring at the chair opposite the iceberg from the moment he came in. His whole body muscles are tight, and his hands almost subconsciously become the shape of claws. This is a posture that only Rob Lucci will reveal when he encounters an extremely powerful enemy. Lucky, what are you going to do with Khalifa? Hey, Luck. Kaku was about to ask Rob Lucci's opinion. He suddenly discovered the latter's anomaly and was quite surprised. Lucci, what's wrong with you? There is no need to be so nervous when dealing with a small Khalifa. Although Khalifa's strength is already very strong compared to ordinary people, it is not at all ranked in CP9. What's more, Rob Lucci is still the strongest in CP9. Therefore, Kaku was extremely surprised by Rob Lucci's nervousness. Kaku, haven't you found it yet? Rob Lucci said with unprecedented solemnity. the scariest enemy here is not Khalifa at all. What? When Lu Qi said this, everyone was shocked. The CP9 people, who were all attracted by Khalifa and Bingberg just now, discovered that there was still one person in the room. That is, all CP9 members including Rob Lucci stared involuntarily. Dover turned the chair slowly, his eyelids lifted slightly, and he glanced lightly. The CP9 people who were scanned by him immediately felt a chill in their hearts. In addition, they finally saw Dover's face, and they were even more shocked. Heavenly Yaksha. Doflamingo. Most people in CP9 can't help but back up a few steps, their faces pale. Why? Why is Doflamingo here? Even though they are the CP9 that the world has heard of, they are very self-aware in the face of Dover. This man is not something they can provoke. Oh, it's all here. Dover spoke lightly, and everyone in CP9 was indistinguishable from ants in his eyes. Dover didn't bother to talk nonsense either. He lifted his finger lightly, and a thread as thin as the ultimate shot out quickly from his fingertips. Careful. Rob Lucci yelled suddenly, and his figure violently retreated at the same time. The other CP9 members did not react as quickly as Rob Lucci. When they were still confused, they were pierced by Dover's line, even if they passed out.
Dead. There was a dead silence in the house. The secret agency of the world government, the powerful CP9 that claims to be able to penetrate into any enemy and obtain any confidential espionage, was almost wiped out in the blink of an eye.
And that person just raised a finger. Such a difference in strength made Rob Lucci, the only survivor, the strongest person known as CP9 in 800 years, could not help but tremble all over. Too strong. Too strong. Rob Lucci roared wildly in his heart. This is not the strength of 7 warlords of the sea at all. Rob Lucci has seen a few 7 warlords of the sea. Although they are also very strong, they are far from as strong as the man in front of him. Rob Lucci suddenly felt that what he is facing right now is not a Shicibukai at all, but 4 emperors, a 4 emperors who is near the New World and sits above hundreds of millions of people. Oh. Dover raised his eyebrows lightly. With his casual blow, Rob Lucci actually flashed past, which surprised Dover slightly. It seems that Rob Lucci is worthy of being the strongest person in CP9 in 800 years, and his strength is indeed one level higher than other CP9 members. However, that's it, the strong ants are still ants. Dover raised a finger again, and another thread as thin as ultimate shot out. Here again, this time it's 2. Rob Lucci's eyes were widened, and his spirit was tense to the extreme. Dover's casual blow, for him, is undoubtedly a life-threatening chase. No, it's too fast, I can't hide it at all. Rob Lucci's eyes are about to split, and the 2 threads have left him nowhere to escape at this time. In desperation, Rob Lucci could only stimulate Devil Fruit's ability. His upper body turned into the shape of a leopard, his speed suddenly increased, and he was dangerously away from Dover's attack. So close, Rob Lucci panted heavily, feeling scared for a while. Just now, as long as he hesitates a little more, his end will be no different from other CP9s. Zone fruit capable person. Dover glanced at Rob Lucci. For this person's dodge again, he did not change his expression, but he became interested in the devil fruit on Rob Lucci. Dover remembers that the man-made devil fruit smile is only zone. Thinking of smile, Dover thinks of Geyser Current and Punk Hazard. Dover is wandering, but Rob Lucci is facing the biggest life and death crisis in his life. Rob Lucci didn't dare to relax, he stared at Dover's fingers, for fear that a 3rd thread would shoot there. Khalifa and Bingberg saw everything in their eyes, but they didn't feel much shock. The 2 who were deeply awed by the posture of King Dover felt that Dover raised his finger and killed the feared CP9 in seconds. Khalifa and Bingberg could only smile bitterly at the thought that was in their hearts. Dover's supreme power has penetrated deeply into their bones.
At this time, Khalifa suddenly said, Lucci, give up your fearless resistance, you can't be the opponent of Lord Doflamingo.
Rob Lucci was startled, he took a deep look at Khalifa, and this woman seemed to betray them indeed. Khalifa, what do you want to say? Do you want me to catch it? Rob Lucci spoke in a deep voice. Khalifa shook her head lightly, and a bold idea came to her mind just now. This idea gave Khalifa the hope of surviving. She doesn't think Dover will let her alone after he gets rid of everyone in CP9. How about catching without holding hands? Khalifa said coldly, can you escape from Master Dover? Rob Lucci's tone stagnated. The 2 threads that Dover casually pushed him to the limit, and he didn't even hold the 3rd thread. Rob Lucci has already determined from the bottom of his heart that as long as Dover is a little serious, there is only a dead end waiting for him. Therefore, Rob Lucci chose to remain silent, knowing that Khalifa should have something to follow. Instead of dying here, rather than being a dog for the world government. Sure enough, Khalifa continued, it is better to submit to Lord Dover and be loyal to Lord Dover. This is the only way Khalifa can think of to survive.
Of course, is this because she has completely convinced Dover, regardless of whether her life is in danger, will completely fall to Dover, only she knows.
After listening to Khalifa's words, Rob Lucci remained silent for a long time. Afterwards, the violent man who was accustomed to killing others bowed down to Dover. Master Doflamingo. Rob Lucci bowed his head and bowed respectfully. Although Dover was thinking about Punk Hazard, of course he was listening to the conversation between Khalifa and Rob Lucci. Dover looked back at Khalifa, who was wearing a mesh black silk skirt, who was a little clever woman. This look from Dover made Khalifa almost can't help but feel flattered. Her eyes became moisturized, and her bright red lips opened and closed slightly. But Dover only glanced at her, then glanced at her, his eyes falling on Rob Lucci, who bowed to him. Rob Lucci, I heard that you are a man with a beast in his heart. The corner of Dover's mouth evokes a playful, cold arc. But you have to hide the beast in your heart. The voice seemed to float from hell. Rob Lucci felt a bit of chill, and sweat dripped down his cheeks. Because, I might have killed that beast by accident. When the last word of Dover fell, Rob Lucci was soaked in sweat. His heart became more horrified than ever before. Just now, he was still trying to compromise with Dover and escape the disaster. But at this moment, Rob Lucci understood that since he had bowed to this man, he would never look back. Because there is only one end, and that is death. Rob Lucci's voice trembled, and he prayed again in fear, Master Doflamingo, I, Rob Lucci, will be loyal to you from now on. Dover looked at Rob Lucci's panic posture indifferently. No matter whether this person was true or false, he would not trust this person. Similarly, he will not trust other people in CP9. However, he does have something to do with CP9 now, so he simply let them go for the time being. Dover raised a hand and drilled several threads into Rob Lucci, Khalifa, and other CP9 members who passed out. When parasite string entered the body, Rob Lucci and Khalifa knew that their lives and deaths would no longer be their own. After taking full control of CP9, Dover's eyes suddenly became extremely deep. He said a sentence that made Rob Lucci, Khalifa, and even Bingberg creepy.
You guys, do everything you can to gain the trust of celestial dragons, and best of all, you can become their direct agency.
Dover actually wanted to extend his clutches to celestial dragons' heads. When Dover left the City of Seven Waters with the Pluton drawings and returned to Alabasta. In Bingshan's office, the CP9 member who had fainted also woke up at this time. Hearing Rob Lucci telling what had just happened, they all felt terrified at Dover's strength and ambition. God, Lord Heavenly Yaksha, are you going to attack celestial dragons? Kaku swallowed hard. Although they are accustomed to murder and arson in CP9, they are all aimed at ordinary people. They can't even think about the celestial dragons, who lives high in the Holy Land Mariajoy and descendants of the founder. Huh. With the support of that adult, what a trivial celestial dragons. Rob Lucci sneered. He was a cruel man by nature. Starting with the supreme celestial dragons made him feel an unprecedented excitement. In addition, his fear of Dover was carved into his bones, and Rob Lucci could no longer have the idea of defying Dover at this moment. Khalifa carefully observes the reaction of every CP9 member. If someone is found to be unfaithful to Lord Dover, or even wants to betray, she will immediately report to Lord Dover. As Dover said earlier, the woman Khalifa is indeed a bit clever. She wants to gain more trust from Dover through this method to show her difference from other CP9 members. Master Shi. Khalifa looked at the iceberg coldly again. Will you tell me what's going on here? Bingshan shook his head silently. He had already given the Pluton drawings to Dover. How could he do such a thing? Celestial dragons. Since he wants to attack celestial dragons, why not give him the Pluton drawing? This is what Bingberg thought at the time. The iceberg hates the celestial dragons who killed his mentor. Khalifa's bright red lips curled up in a dangerously confusing arc. Then, let us discuss how to cover things up here and gain the trust of celestial dragons. Dover didn't know what happened in Bingberg's office, but even if he did, he would only laugh at Khalifa's cleverness. Dover is not an indifferent person, on the contrary, he has a strong possessive desire for women he likes. but people at Khalifa's level can't even enter his eyes. Compared to Khalifa, Dover is more concerned about Rob Lucci. This person is known as the strongest person in CP9 for 800 years, which is indeed a bit extraordinary. Before Dover left, he easily turned Spandam into dementia, depending on what stuff this person can do with Spandam. These thoughts flashed through his mind, and a cold sneer evoked at the corner of Dover's mouth. Celestial dragons? Is it really supreme? Arriving at Alabasta, Robin and Vivi greeted them. There are two beauties, one big and one small, one with a charming smile and the other cute and lovely. When Dover walked over, the two women gathered around him, one from the left and the other from the right. Robin smiled and asked, "Have you got it?" Dover nodded indifferently. "There was a small accident, but it's nothing." Robin knew that the small accident that Dover said must be a big trouble for ordinary people.
But what Robin didn't know was that that little accident was still related to her.
In the original book, Robin was tortured by CP9 quite miserably, and Straw Hat Crew was almost wiped out. Vivi cheered and jumped up. "Mingming is rescued, let's go to heal Mingming." This little girl has recently got along with Pluton's ship elves, and she has become the best girlfriends. The three of them walked all the way to a very secret place in Alabasta, which was created by Dover with his ability. No one could enter except him and the people he allowed. Pluton, originally deep underground, was placed here by Dover. Seeing Pluton again, Dover can still feel Pluton's magnificent and majestic aura, the black metal structure, dozens of dark missile holes, and it exudes endless chill.
To be honest, Dover is quite curious about the actual power of Pluton.
He couldn't wait to test it, but to Dover's disappointment, Mingming told Vivi after getting the drawing that she had not moved for thousands of years, and it would take a long time for her to repair it by herself. Seeing Dover seem disappointed, Vivi's anxious eyes were almost red. Robin said at this moment, "Master Dover, a pirate named Bellamy, sent a letter when you went to the City of Seven Waters. I think you might be interested." "Oh?" Dover raised his eyebrows. Bellamy was the first chess piece he played in East Blue. At the beginning, Dover told Bellamy to expand the site in East Blue as much as possible, but I don't know how he is doing now. Dover took the letter from Robin. To his surprise, Bellamy simply stated his expansion status in the letter. The main content was a devil fruit that Dover had been asking about for a long time. Information. Mera Mera fruit. Dover flashed in his eyes. This powerful Logia fruit is the devil fruit that Dover wants Virgo to eat. In the original book, Mera Mera fruit was first eaten by Ace and later by Luffy's second brother Sabo. But at this point in time, Ace has not yet gone to sea, and Mera Mera fruit still exists in a corner of the world. Dover launched the network of the underground world to search for Mera Mera fruit, but Bellamy found it first. But it is right to think about it. Ace went to sea from Windmill Village more than 2 years later, and Mera Mera fruit should be in East Blue. East Blue. Within the Kingdom of Goa, a certain sea area tens of kilometers away from Windmill Village. A young man with naked torso and sweating profusely is rowing his oars. He came out secretly, a teenager who is adventurous by nature, and has explored all the places around the village. He gradually felt that the village was really boring, especially the old man who suddenly went home and began to care for the elderly. Tenten whispered in his ear, "I want to be a powerful sea soldier," which annoyed the young man. He believes that he should belong to a broader world. So, he sneaked out. The young man's name is Portkas D. Ace. Few people know that he is actually the son of the legendary One Piece King Gore D. Roger. However, Ace recently heard that a great pirate who was very famous in East Blue came to the Kingdom of Goya. Ace, who is already a man at his own expense, immediately shines. He wants to challenge the big pirate, defeat him, and prove himself to the annoying old man at home. Ace finally came to the island where the great pirate was stationed. He took a deep breath and adjusted his state to the most perfect level. Come on. Ace's face showed self-confidence and a high spirit of fighting against young people. I, Portkas D. Ace, will become known as East Blue after today's war. After receiving Bellamy's letter, Dover set off for the location of Mera Mera fruit. According to Bellamy, Mera Mera fruit fell into the hands of a pirate named Tagler. And Tagler is the younger brother of the fierce big pirate Targus. Therefore, Bellamy didn't dare to act rashly, and quickly wrote to Dover. Targus? Dover thought the name was familiar, but Robin reminded him that it was a pirate he killed casually when the two met for the first time. It seems that this person's death has not yet been announced by Marine. Dover thought that Sengoku might have been blackmailed by him more than a billion Baileys, and he even hated Targus, so that he ignored his death, and suddenly found it quite interesting. So he took Robin to Tagler. Now Tagler is quite embarrassed. Because of the inexplicable death of his elder brother, he was hit by several enemies together. He left his previous territory completely and he became a bereaved dog. But perhaps it was Tagler who was running from time to time. In the process of fleeing, he unexpectedly found a devil fruit, which is still the most powerful Logia. Tagler was ecstatic. He was about to eat Mera Mera fruit, but he was found by his enemies. After a death fight and several days of fleeing, Tagler finally came to this deserted island. Ha ha ha, Mera Mera fruit is mine. Tiger, who was in a panic, laughed wildly at this time. His eyes were full of madness. As long as he eats this Mera Mera fruit, his strength will immediately skyrocket. Those enemies who have chased him down, he will burn them to death one by one. Burn to death, all burn to death. With such a crazy idea, Tagler couldn't wait any longer, and opened his mouth to bite at the Mera Mera fruit in his hand. Click. There was a crisp sound. Tagler bit his finger, and because of too much force, he bit his finger bone off. What happened? Where is my Mera Mera fruit? Tagler was at a loss for a while. But in the next second, his vitality was quickly passing away, and he couldn't even feel the pain of being bitten off his finger bones. I'm going to die too. Who killed me? What the hell is going on? Countless questions filled Tagler's mind. When he fell down, he finally caught a glimpse of a man and a woman standing in the distance, seeming to be chatting. That man, Doflamingo, he killed my eldest brother. This was Tagler's last thought. At the most proud and ecstatic moment of life, it is so pitiful to die so unclearly. Robin looked at Tagler's blank death, and said with a very calm expression. He was clearly saying that the other party was pitiful, but he used such a calm expression. In this world, I am afraid that only Robin would do such a thing. Dover played with the Mera Mera fruit on his hand, and for a while, he glanced at some grass at random. Boy, isn't it coming out? That guy is dead. Robin's pretty face suddenly showed a trace of surprise. There are other people on this desert island? After Ace came to the island, he quickly found Tigler with his keen search ability. But Ace did not act rashly. After all, the other party was a long-established great pirate, and he was only a 14 or 5-year-old boy. When Ace was about to observe Tagler for a while, he suddenly realized that Tagler was dead, and the Mera Mera fruit in his hand is gone. Ace was taken aback immediately. At this time, he discovered that a man and a woman had also been on the island without knowing when. The two. Who are they? Ace's personality is similar to Luffy, and he doesn't like to watch the news. Therefore, he now doesn't even know Shicibukai, Dover, and Robin, the son of the devil. However, this does not prevent Ace from seeing the extraordinary men and women in front of him, especially the man, even giving Ace a feeling of suffocation. Ace didn't dare to act rashly. However, when he saw the man glance at him, Ace knew he had been spotted. Ace simply stopped hiding, especially Dover's little devil, which made Ace intolerable. I'm not a kid. Ace jumped out and stared at Dover and Robin fiercely. He raised his muscular arms. I'm a real man. Also, you two have robbed my prey. You must give me an explanation. You two robbed me of my prey. You must give me an explanation. Ace is young and frivolous. The newborn calf is not afraid of tigers, and has no idea what kind of existence he is talking to. Although he could see that Dover was a terrible opponent at a glance, he not only did not flinch, but even aroused his inner fighting spirit. It can only be said that Ace at this time is the same as when he grows up, only with blood and courage, and there is no self-knowledge. In the original book, he insisted on going his own way and had to seek revenge on Blackbeard alone. In the end, he not only died, but also made the Whitebeard pirates history. Although, this is indeed a kind of manly spirit, but in Dover's view, it is too naive and naive. In this world of pirates where the weak and the strong eat, they don't have enough strength, and they are too naive and will only find their own way of death. For example, at this moment, Dover can wipe Ace from the world with a gentle stretch of his hand. What a fierce kid. Robin was very surprised at Ace, who suddenly jumped out. She is as keen as her insight, and she didn't even discover Ace's hiding just now. Robin instinctively, Ace is probably not an ordinary teenager. I said, I'm not a kid, let alone a kid. Ace shouted angrily, you guys, are you listening to me? Robin covered his mouth and smiled, brightly moving, glanced at Dover beside him, and smiled. It seems that you don't know us, you are still a kid. With a few simple words, Robin made Ace so angry that he was almost furious, but he had nothing to refute. Compared with the sharp mouth and black belly, 10 Ace is not as good as 1 Robin. Calm down, I want to calm down, she is just a woman, as a man, she shouldn't care about a woman. Ace forced himself to calm down, he looked at Dover, his head held high. Hey, I don't know the same as a woman, but you, Ace said in a magnificent manner, you killed my prey, so I want to challenge you. As soon as these words came out, Robin couldn't help but chuck and laughed. Challenged Dover. This kid really dared to say. Did he know that even the strongest pirate in East Blue didn't have the courage to say this sentence? What are you laughing at? Ace glared at Robin, he couldn't tolerate this woman who underestimated him. At this time, Dover let out a low, unintelligible laugh, and his eyes were deep, gleaming with a light that Robin couldn't understand. He. Are you sure you want to challenge me? Certainly, Ace shouted Kaido. He clenched his fists, as if eager to try. Ha ha ha, Dover said meaningfully, yes, I accept your challenge. After that, Dover stood with his hands behind him, looking at Ace teasingly like a cat playing with a mouse. Seeing Dover despising him so much, Ace was even more angry. He didn't talk nonsense, and rushed forward with his fist. I have to say that Ace's current strength is already a bit decent, fast, and full of momentum. The pirates waiting for a bounty of tens of millions are not necessarily his opponents. But it is a pity that the person Ace is facing at this moment is not at all the existence he can imagine now. In Dover's eyes, Ace is no different from a baby. Robin also put his arms around his chest, standing aside watching the good show. Although she didn't know why Dover would tease this kid in a leisurely manner, she was as smart as her and wouldn't say much. Seeing Ace take a few breaths, he rushed to Dover. It's done. Ace was overjoyed. He initially thought Dover was a terrible opponent, but he didn't expect that he would approach the opponent so easily. Take me a punch. Ace shook a tight fist confidently. He was confident that Dover couldn't escape at such a close distance. However, the accident happened suddenly. Ace had just punched his fist, suddenly his upper body staggered, and immediately fell into a dog to chew on mud. What's going on? Ace looked up blankly. Due to the rushing force just now, he fell very hard in this fall, and his bones almost fell apart. Ace tried to squeeze his sore arm, but suddenly realized that he couldn't move. Boy, you are defeated. Dover's faint voice came, and Ace reacted. Before he knew it, he had already followed the other side's way. How could it be like this? I lost. It was so simple to lose. In an instant, Ace's heart, which was originally higher than the sky, fell to the bottom. He was lost. He never thought he was so weak. In fact, we can't blame Ace for being weak. At this age with such strength, Ace is already considered a genius. Ace can only be blamed for being too naive and arrogant, choosing the wrong opponent. Dover moved his finger lightly, retracting the thread that bound Ace, and said in a playful tone, "Boy, let's go back and practice hard." After speaking, he turned around and left. Ace got up to his feet, briefly lost in despair. Without frustrating Ace, he exhausted all his strength and shouted, "One day, I, Portgas Ace, will definitely defeat you and become the strongest in the world." Dover paused, then looked back at Ace with profound meaning. The world's strongest? He, now recognized as the strongest in the world, but 4 Emperor's Whitebeard. After that, Dover took Robin and disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Ace stared blankly at Dover's disappearing back. After a long time, he made up his mind and shouted, "Then I will defeat that Whitebeard first, and then challenge you." The young boy's innocent shout drifted in the wind, drifting in the ears of Dover and Robin who were going away. Robin asked curiously, "That kid seems a bit extraordinary." Dover looked at the stunning face of the woman close at hand, and a wicked smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Of course it's extraordinary. As far as the world government is concerned, that kid is just like you, with devil's blood flowing on him." Devil's blood? Robin shook slightly, and the smile on his face disappeared. She has been called the son of the devil by the world government since the age of 8, and she is very sensitive to the word devil. Not to mention, O'Hara was destroyed under Buster Call. Ha ha ha. Dover said with a deep gaze, "That kid is the only son of One Piece King Dear D. Roger." What? Robin was really shocked this time. 18 years ago, the pirate king Gore D. Roger, who was executed by Marine, still had heirs in this world. After the shock, Robin fell silent. If this news spreads out, then that little devil, like himself, will be chased by the whole world. Dover didn't know Ace's life experience, which touched Robin's deepest nightmare. The reason Dover let Ace go and said that before leaving was because he knew that Ace and Whitebeard had a constant fate. Dover wanted this kind of fate to be implicated, to happen a little earlier, so that it would be of great benefit to his future plans. Whitebeard Pirates vs. Marine Headquarters. The extremely tragic and vast top war in this original book, if driven by Dover's secret clutches, happened ahead of time, it would be really interesting. Dover's eyes surged. The plan that has existed in his mind since he passed through, enough to subvert the world government and cause the world to produce an unprecedented huge earthquake, has finally gradually taken shape. At this time, Robin, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly acts. She had already had doubts in her heart. Although you are very powerful, you are still Shicibukai. But, I am the son of the devil, I don't know when, and there may even be Marine Admiral coming.
Are you really not worried? After speaking, Robin pursed his red lips. His eyes are bright, but at this time he was a little dim, even a hint of tension, and he looked at the man in front of him tightly.
Dover was slightly surprised. He realized that Ace's life experience aroused the fear in the heart of the woman next to him. Dover laughed his usual low laugh. If Robin knew the plan that had just flashed in his mind, then he would never ask such a question again. Son of the devil? Marine Admiral? Dover smiled wickedly, and he stirred up the chin of the stunning woman in front of him. You still don't know me enough, Robin. I am a real demon. The real demon? For a moment, Robin was shocked by the overwhelming aura of the man close at hand. It took a long time for Robin to return to his senses, and a trace of complexity flashed in his beautiful eyes. Devil, the word Robin used to fear and hate, suddenly made her feel a little kind and cute. Robin twisted his waist, hiding from Dover's big hand holding her chin. His face regained its usual brilliance. Master Devil, you can't bully me, a weak little girl. Robin blinked his eyes mischievously, and the sweetness of a moment was enough to make heaven and earth embarrassed. After Ace was easily crushed by Dover, he returned to Windmill Village with a little dejection. Although he yelled to defeat Whitebeard and defeat Dover not long ago, he is not a fool, knowing that there is a huge gap between his strength and those two. He didn't know how long it would take to really defeat those two. No, I can't waste time in the village anymore. Suddenly, Ace's eyes were firm. He decided that he would go out to sea, go to the real sea. In this way, his strength will improve faster, but before that, he has to fully strengthen his cultivation. When Ace returned home, he kicked open the wooden door in the yard and said loudly to the old man in the yard who was playing childish games with his grandson. Old man, hurry up and teach me to practice. The old man in Ace's mouth is the marine hero, Garp, who was so angry that Dover almost vomited blood, so Sengoku allowed him to go home and rest for a while. The child opposite Garp is naturally his grandson, Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy, who was still a kid, saw Ace and immediately ran over with a smile. Ace, where did you go to play? I haven't seen you all day. Garp looked at the broken wooden door that was kicked by Ace, and shouted angrily. It took me all morning to make the door, Ace, you damn it kid. With that said, Garp stepped forward to twist Ace's ears, and continued to yell while twisting. Dare to call me old man, hurry up and call me grandpa. However, to Garp's surprise, Ace, who used to be yelling pain when he twisted his ears, didn't even change his face. Wow, Ace is so powerful, it doesn't hurt at all, Luffy said admiringly, and then smiled complacently. However, I'm not afraid of grandpa twisting my ears, I'm a rubber man. Old man, teach me to practice, I want to become stronger. Ace ignored Garp's anger and Luffy's play, repeating his first words. Oh? Garp was shocked by Ace's solemn determination. Did this kid take the wrong medicine today? In the past, he was most afraid of being forced to practice by himself. Garp was puzzled, letting go of Ace's ears, and said, Ace, what's the matter with you? Why are you thinking about cultivation? For Garp's question, Ace had prepared for it, and a subtle sly light flashed in his eyes. Because, I want to be a strong seaman, Grandpa Garp. Ace successfully fooled Garp. When Garp heard that Ace said that he wanted to be a strong seaman, he smiled immediately. Without a word, he immediately began to teach Ace to practice. However, 2 months later, I had initially learned armament hockey and observation hockey's Ace. One early morning, I boarded a small boat alone as a pirate. Moreover, Luffy who went to see him off, Tenten also quarreled after returning home, and when he grew up, he would follow Ace's footsteps and become a pirate. After hearing the news, Garp was almost furious. At the same time, the culprit that caused this scene was leaning on the soft chair indifferently, taking the wine handed by the beauty beside him. After Robin finished serving Dover, he stood aside and looked around curiously. This is a place called Arlong Paradise. It is said that it controls more than a dozen small villages around it, and the owner here is actually a group of Murlocs. However, of course it belongs to the man next to him. Sorry, Lord Doflamingo. Bellamy knelt down and said with a shame, "It is incompetent for you to get Mera Mera fruit by yourself." Bellamy was unable to take down Mera Mera fruit for Dover immediately because of a battle with Arlong, the Murloc leader here. No, from above, Dover came with a hint of appreciation. "Bellamy, what you did has exceeded my expectations." Bellamy did a good job. At the beginning, Dover asked him to expand his territory as much as possible, but with Bellamy's strength, it would be nice to desperately win a country. However, to Dover's surprise, Bellamy did not choose to be reckless. Bellamy is the first to find those little pirates who are weaker than him and occupy their territory. After accumulating a certain amount of strength and funds, Bellamy began to focus on larger villages and towns. He used financial bribery, threats of force, exposing crimes to Marine, etc., to force Marine leaders in those villages and towns to cooperate with him. Using this method, Bellamy really conquered a lot of territory. The surrounding 20 villages and towns under the rule of Arlong Paradise are the biggest gains since Bellamy's expansion. The mouse colonel of the Marine branch responsible for the safety of this area has become Bellamy's running dogs. Bellamy trembled with excitement when he heard Dover's praise. His most admired and respected Lord Doflamingo finally agrees with him. Dover took a sip of the wine, and the scarlet liquor imprinted on his dark and deep eyes. "Bellamy, from now on, you can hold back for a while and accumulate as much strength as possible." "Yes, Lord Doflamingo." Bellamy suppressed the ecstasy in his heart. He knew that the man in front of him who he would never be able to stand by, must be brewing a huge plan that would shock the world. And he just needs to be a pawn. In the surging tide of this era, it is Bellamy's lifelong desire to do his best to serve Doflamingo-sama allegiance. Behind Bellamy stood a beautiful girl with orange hair. The girl pressed her lips tightly, and her little hand behind her waist was also tightly clenched. It can be seen that although she tried to hide her tension, she still couldn't control the fear in her heart. At this time, Bellamy raised his head, glanced at the orange-haired girl behind him, and said respectfully to Dover, "My lord, this woman turned out to be a cadre of the Arlong pirates. However, I have found out that she has been deceiving Arlong all the time, and actually just wants to save her village." Naturally, Dover had noticed the orange-haired girl a long time ago, and when he looked over, the orange-haired girl immediately trembled in fear. Dover shook his heart. Of course he knew this woman, who was the navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates in the original book, Nami. Because his hometown of Kokoja was occupied by Arlong, Nami had to join the Arlong group. Originally, she had to suffer at least another 4 or 5 years, but Bellamy's expansion unexpectedly saved her ahead of schedule. At this time, the only 2 female crew members of the Straw Hat group in the future were in Dover's hands. However, Dover did not pay much attention to Robin for Nami at this time. After all, Nami is just a navigator with great potential. Although very beautiful, it does not have much effect on Dover at the moment. Therefore, Dover only glanced at him faintly, then withdrew his gaze. Dover stayed in Arlong Paradise for a while, then dropped to Bellamy's knees, and took Robin away. Before leaving, he told Bellamy to let the little girl Nami learn more about sailing. Dover thought that this might be useful in the future. In addition, Dover also asked Bellamy to take care of Arlong, who was imprisoned. After all, Arlong was born on Mermaid Island, and Dover will go to the place where Poseidon exists sooner or later. After Dover left, he didn't mention how excited Bellamy was. All that said, Nami let out a long sigh of relief. Almost all of the shirt on his back was soaked. That tall and stalwart man who seemed to see through his whole body at a glance is really horrible, horrible. Nami felt that Arlong, who was terribly afraid of him before, was not even a dish in comparison with that man. What's more, Arlong had been defeated by Bellamy, who was afraid of breathing in front of the man. Nami sighed in his heart. Although Arlong had stepped down, her hometown fell into the hands of a terrifying man that she could not even imagine. Is the future a blessing or a curse? Nami was at a loss for a moment.